What's happening, guys? This is Speo with the Voice of Reason, and welcome to my first tutorial. Today we will be looking at a metallic kind of glitch shop or dubstep synth used by numerous artists, and it should sound something like this. Yep. It's quite simple actually, but there are a few tricks involved you might not well think of. First, chuck in a Thor. Make sure it's resetted and turn on the portamento, set it to mono and get into programming. Turn the amp envelope sustain all the way up and deactivate the filter for now. And for the first oscillator we want a wavetable, and here is where the little trick comes in. Set it to a formant, and now listen to what happens when I turn the position all the way up. Instant metal. Yeah, it sounds a little weak on its own, so I'd suggest layering it with a sine wave as a kind of, we can put both an octave down and keep it on the same octave. The sine wave as a kind of, well, basis. If you want to, well, make a sub layered with another sine wave and an octave below, but I'd recommend mixing this up in a separate mix channel. But for now, just for demonstration purposes, we'll keep a sine wave on the same octave so it sounds a little fuller. On the mixer, turn the balance to 1 so the metal is a little more prominent. Now, for the filter modulation, we'll run it into a low pass ladder. Turn the frequency to about 124 Hz and the resonance, crank the resonance up quite a bit. Turn the velocity all the way down and the envelope all the way up. We could use an LFO too, but I'm just lazy now, so we'll just do it this way. Turn the, on the filter envelope, turn the sustain and release all the way down, and now we can adjust the attack and decay to our likings. I like that. That's just so every time I hit a key, the filter opens up in 49 milliseconds and closes again in 2.48 seconds. Now, for mixing, I'd suggest running it through an equalizer and just boosting the lows and the highs. And run it into a compressor too, just to tighten up the signal a bit. Choose kind of harsh settings, but and adjust the output gain so it's loud enough again. Okay, now there comes the little tricky part. To make the sound even bigger, you should add a reverb, but reverbs on basses are normally not a good idea because it sounds muddy very fast. What we can do with the RV700, we can enable the EQ on the reverb, just click EQ enable, and in the programmer select the EQ and put the low gain all the way down to -18 dB and the frequency all the way up, or well to 790 or something. So we get this nice curve down and there is no low end in the reverb. Now adjust the dry wet and the decay so it doesn't stick out that much, and maybe dampen it up a bit to about 80. Yeah. So there you go, there you got your basic metal sound. In terms of creative effects, you can go nuts, pretty much. Of course, the most obvious thing would be to add distortion to the unit I normally like to do that before the mixing. Tape distortion is always a good option. Just put the speed all the way up and the compression to about 22 and the damage to, well, 80. The master a little bit. Adjust the master. Adds a nice texture to the sound. If you want even more texture, you could also turn on the body, put it to type B, because type B is pretty good on the body. I normally always go with type B if I turn on the body on the Scream 4. Put the resonance down a bit because we already got some resonance to about, well, 40. And now for the scale. We want the scale at about 20, and we want it rising and closing again with the filter envelope. So we just route the filter env, if I can find it, here it is, to the CV-out1 on the Thor, and route the CV1 output into the scale. Adjust it so it isn't too, well, it doesn't boost the scale too much, to about, well, 50. And there's a nice texture, a nice, well, almost growly, metallic growly kind of thing. You can also adjust the resonance a bit, so it's less squeaky or more squeaky, but I like it here. I've prepared a little example. This is really just a kind of, well, a little thing. Just one of the many ways you could, well, work with this kind of bass. I hope this tutorial was useful. If it was, drop a like, that would be much appreciated. There are more of these tutorials to come in the future, so make sure to subscribe to this channel if you want to keep up to date. This has been Speo with the Voice of Reason, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one of whatever you're having.